What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Raised.
Love picking up mistakes from Downton Abbey? Well, you'll be pleased to know that you have something in common with Queen Elizabeth II. Set in the 20th century, Downton is filled with flaws and mistakes we miss or simply choose to ignore. From the very forced storylines to some period blunders, here are the 10 biggest flaws in Downton Abbey. The medals. Queen Elizabeth II is a big fan of Downton Abbey. Downton Abbey is a period drama that follows the lives of the Crawley family and their servants. The series lasted for 6 years, from 2010 to 2016, and in 2019, Julian Fellowes decided to release a Downton movie for which a sequel is set to be released this March. Author of At Home with the Queen, Brian Hoey, had an interview with People magazine, and he was supposed to share some details about Queen Elizabeth's life. Here, we find out that the Queen is actually a huge fan of Downton Abbey. Hoey also said that the Queen loves picking up mistakes, and she actually knows the Highclere Castle, the main location where the show is filmed. He even shared a big historical mistake picked up by the Queen herself. As he explained, they tend to get it right. However, the Queen did notice on one episode that there was a young so-called British officer wearing medals that had not been awarded when he was supposed to be alive. He was fighting in the First World War, and the medals on his chest did not come in until the Second World War. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find this historical mistake. Do you guys know in which episode the mistake occurred? Let us know. Oh, did we mention that Kate Middleton is also a huge fan of the show? So is her husband, William. The Queen also loves to watch Dad's Army, Last of the Summer Wine, and The X Factor.
Some men hate having strangers with them. My father does.
Oh, I don't mind. Especially not you.
Why did Robert cheat on Cora? Robert Crawley loved his wife, that's a fact, but fans of the show see him as an unfaithful husband. Robert cheated on Cora with the housemaid Jane, and although he did seem to regret that happening later, we never really discovered why the creator made this storyline. Where was the storyline supposed to lead? What was the point of him going behind Cora's back while she was sick? Cora never found out about the affair, and we really wish she did. One thing is certain, that this affair led nowhere, and it seemed really forced.
I'm not sure.
It would make me very happy.
If I thought that, then I'd take it gladly.
Matthew's conflict with Mary. Remember when Matthew inherited money from his family of his late fiancée Lavina, but he felt guilty keeping it? Meanwhile, Robert was losing the Downton estate, and when Mary asked Matthew to take the money and give them to her father in order for the estate to be saved, he had doubts. And one of the most intense conflicts in Downton followed between Mary and her husband. It's clear where Matthew's coming from, but the situation here calls for him to give Robert the money. He feels ashamed for taking the money, but he easily cheated on Lavina with Mary. Selling Downton would not have affected the family, it just would have had a terrible impact on everyone who worked there as well. Wasn't he thinking about the staff that would have lost their jobs? What we're trying to say is that we never really fully understood why Matthew was so stubborn about inheriting the money. And yes, Robert wasted Cora's fortune and should face the consequences, but Matthew was right to help the other people involved in the case.
How could I possibly allow myself to profit from her death, to dine in splendor?
Michael Gregson vanishes. Another flaw that occurred was because the actor playing Gregson, Charles Edwards, wanted to focus on other projects, so he decided to leave Downton. Gregson went to Germany and couldn't be tracked for years, so he was killed off. A sudden decision made by Julian Fellowes. This is just another heartbreaking storyline to include in Lady Edith's sad life, and we believe she deserved better. Do you?
It's true, I am married, but I hope you'll allow me to explain.
Explain what? I am familiar.
Bates and Anna equals the unnecessary drama. At the beginning of Downton, Bates and Anna were perhaps the two most loved characters in Downton, but with every new season, they were becoming the most hated ones. And this was not character development, this was instead a forced storyline that led nowhere. First of all, Anna was frequently hiding secrets from Bates. She wouldn't tell him about Green because she was afraid he would do something stupid that could send him to jail again. She didn't tell him about her miscarriages, she never told him about buying contraception for Mary, and he accuses her of not wanting wanting to have children with him. She does nothing. As for Bates, a lot of people realize he's not the person we thought he was, meaning that he's not the friendly person fans loved in season 1. Our point is that Fellowes should have been given a break to Bates and Anna's dramatic storylines.
There's no excuse to accuse him when he did nothing. Would I have sat down to breakfast with him the next morning if it had been him?
The car. The car you're seeing is a Ford Model T, and if you're anything like us, you're probably thinking it all looks great for a period drama that is set in the early 20th century. But some people who understand cars' histories reported that this is the 1921 model. With season 1 set in 1912, this is clearly a mistake. Plastic bottle. Here's a fun mistake. Ahead of its 5th season, Downton Abbey has released photos of the cast, and some eagle-eyed fans noticed something strange. Do you see the plastic water bottle in the background? Carson and Mrs Hughes. Downton Abbey showrunners perfectly knew how to make us happy when the dear butler Carson proposed to the housekeeper Mrs Hughes. Knowing that Carson was struggling with showing emotions, this was one of the best character development stories Downton could have ever given us. Carson may have been stern, but he had a big heart and offered support for those he loved. However, as much as we love the proposal storyline, it appears it's historically inaccurate. The engagement between Carson and Mrs Hughes could have never happened because of the fact that housekeepers couldn't be married back then. The thing is, women who were in position of Mrs Hughes had to stay Mrs in order for them to rank higher than the other cast members. If this kind of situation happened in the early 20th century, both people involved in it would have been fired.
You are, if you think I'm asking you to marry me.
Alfred is a food expert. Now, we all remember Alfred as a person Daisy found attractive, and as a person who left Downton in order to be a chef. However, Alfred is not happy about the fancy food that the staff gets when Edith's wedding is ruined. In fact, he even thinks the food is gross. More importantly, he has no idea what the different foods are. Not long after, he expresses his love and passion for cooking and knows plenty of fancy dishes. He quickly transformed from a person that wanted cheese for dinner to a chef, and this is perhaps one of the biggest plot holes in the show.
Hardly. These are canapes, Alfred. For your first course, some truffled egg on toast.
Edith keeping her child. This is another historically inaccurate storyline. If a woman of high status was left pregnant out of marriage back in the beginning of the 20th century, she would have been neglected by her entire family. Instead of abortion, when Lady Edith found out she was pregnant, she decided to give her child for adoption. Abortion remained a dangerous procedure into the early 20th century, so this was the right decision made by Lady Edith. But Edith then made up her mind and decided to raise her child. Nevertheless, back then, if a woman did what Edith did, she would have been treated like a disgraced woman, and the woman would have been humiliated by her entire family.
They'll bring a cot for the young un, madam. Just ring down if there's anything else.
Did you guys know about this? Is there any mistakes you noticed in Downton that we forgot to mention? Let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed our video, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss any of our videos in the future. As always, thanks for watching.